Okay, good morning, welcome back. Just want to refresh your memory as to where we left off. We're in Shaar Alef, Nefesh HaChaim, Shaar Alef, Perek Dalet, which started off with Zois Teres Ha'adam. Kol ish Yisrael yomer b'libay chas v'shalom ki ma ani u'ma koichi lifol b'masei hashvelim shum inyan ba'olam. This is the first three prakim in the first half of Perek Dalet. What we learned is not just the prominence, but the centrality of Ha'adam in the Bria. And to make it succinct, without the Nefesh HaChaim, before the Nefesh HaChaim, so we think that there are, Hashem made all kinds of creations in the world. We're talking about believing people. We're not talking about that we are just a biological, evolved, intelligent being. But we would tend to think, that even the believers would tend to think that Hashem made all kinds of creations. He made plants, He made rocks, He made animals, He made people. And in that kind of equation, Jews don't really fit, because that's sort of like Asher Hamaisi, the Jews. And there's the whole Bria, and in the Bria, some of the creations of Hashem are more intelligent than other creations of Hashem. For instance, using intelligence as more alive, a plant is more intelligent than a rock, a rabbit is more intelligent than a plant, a monkey is more intelligent than a rabbit, and a person is more intelligent than the animal kingdom. And Jews, well, we're way up there. So it's just a matter of degree, yeah?
They all experienced the zinc flash.
Yeah, zinc flash, very good.
That's all.
So we're all. It's fascinating how it's not for my share. I got to go to somebody else's share to understand. But it's fascinating how the evolutionists understand, the intelligence of a person, why it's superior to. But it's just another bria. The point is that without the Nefesh HaChaim, we would understand that a person and the unbelievable capability we have to talk and to reason and to cure illnesses and to invent things like rockets and airplanes and go to the moon and all of this intelligence, which unless you're into the planet of the apes, only people can do this. It's just an amazing koach, but it's an intelligent koach. So comes Rabbi Haber and he explains that that's not the pshat. The pshat is that ba'asar ma'amaris nivra ha'olam, that the world was created with asar ma'amaris, and the basof kol ha'olam. And it's a question, by the way. Let's just put this question aside, but I want to throw it out there. Tachlis ha'olam hu ha'adam. Nefesh HaChaim. What does the word tachlis even mean? But what does that mean? But it can mean that the tachlis, the purpose, or it can mean the end. But the tachlis of the bria is the yadam, meaning that it's not just that dam or domain, someach, chai, medaber. The Adam was created after Vayom Hashishi. The Adam was created specifically chronologically last in the bria, because the Adam has a job of being the CEO of the entire bria. And in other words, here's the bria and here's Adam. So the Adam stands apart from the bria. It's not that here's the bria, blah, 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 and here's the highest level of the bria. There's the bria, and then there's the Adam, which is continuing the work of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the bria. And that's why Ba'asar Ma'amaris Nivra Olam, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu chose Dibur, Amira, to create the world. And from all the different creations that He created in the world, as intelligent as they may be, He only created one bria with Koach HaDibur, and that's the Adam. Why? Because you're meant to be the 11th mimer, and the 12th mimer, and the 150th mimer. Ba'asar Ma'amaris Nivra Olam, that's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now I've created you, so it's even more than CEO. It's total executive. Maybe that's what a CEO is, but it's the executive, I understand, is to execute that which the higher authority said. So that's uns executive. But gufa barim, actually to be able to create. A person is able to create. And we have the koach habriya. The tool of bria is dibur. And hence, it's imperative for us to have dibur. And that's why people can talk. So do you understand the distinction is very subtle, but it's a very it's vast, it's important. That it's not just that we talk because we're more intelligent, we talk because we're coming from the other side. Here's the Bria, here's HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the Bria is here, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the Bria for whatever reason he created the Bria. It's out of the scope of this conversation right now. But he created the Adam to manage the Bria, and even to create within the Bria, to create Yesh Miyesh within the Bria, and that requires the Koach HaDibur. So we have to understand what our position is in the world, A, and B, Zos Taras Adam Kol Ish Yisrael, and we explained last time before Pesach why Dafka Yisrael. Maybe I'll go over that for another minute also. Why Dafka Yisrael? Everybody's a Koach HaDibur, but that we have to understand that every word that we say, and for that matter, that's the real Koach HaBria. Every word that we say has huge significance in terms of the creation. And we need to get into the mechanics and into how that works. But it's not just every word that we say, that happens to be the tool, but it's every thought that we think, and every move that we make, every tnua. This is the bria of the Adam, sort of like, just to put a mushal out there, sort of like the control panel of the world. Here's the world, and then there's a control panel. So we think that what we do affects us. Maybe it affects other people. What we don't understand is that what we do, it's affecting the entire bria, because we are the continuation of the borei. And that's Bereishis Bar Elokim, and that's what it means to be B'Tselem Elokim. Bereishis Bar Elokim, B'Tselem Elokim, Baras Adam. The Tselem Elokim is, okay, now you take over. Now it doesn't mean that Hashem absences himself from the Bria. Obviously, Kodesh Baruch Hu is here. It doesn't, but what it does mean is that we have a specific task over here, and if we underestimate our ability, then we're not working to our mandate, to our job, to our qualifications. You're given the keys because you're charged. Now, if you say, "Well, I'm an unav, and what do I do, and who am I, and I'm just going to do what makes me feel good," so then what's happening is one person not doing their jobs. Besides for the fact that you don't realize, sometimes you see it even in a relationship. People say all the time, I'm sure you've heard it too, I hear it all the time, like, you don't realize how powerful your words are. Like, a person doesn't think much of themselves, they will insult people on a regular basis. What are you taking what I'm saying so seriously? So I said, you're an idiot. Like, who am I to say you're an idiot that you should take it so seriously? But people do take us seriously. So there's a koach of dibur that we don't know. So just like a person can't say, well, so what? I'm just talking. That's all. It does have an effect. I now think that it has an effect not just on the person you're talking to, but even if you're talking by yourself in your room, even if you're feeling yourself in a room, feeling something or doing something in a room, that's affecting the entire Bria. And I explained, I'm just going to go this briefly, but we went through the Ramchal the last time. I just want everyone to be back up to date. That, how do we get into this idea that it's Dafka Jews? I mean, Adam is much earlier and much wider than the Jewish concept. And this explained that the Ramchal says, and this is very important, and that is that it's correct. It's really every Adam. Adam and Chava were not Jewish. Adam and Chava were in the Gan Eden, but Adam, as mankind, as a human, messed up twice. We ate from the Eitz Hadas, couldn't keep the rules, and then Cain killed Hevel to add injury to insult. Right, so we violated and abused our koach as Adam and messed up big time. The Ramchal explains if it wouldn't be for that mess up, the world would have just been the world, and this would have been the whole thing. That was Ki'ilu Kivyochel, the original Kavanah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When we did a chet, we brought Misa into the world. If there wouldn't be any Misa into the world, there would be no need for Olam Haba, would there? I mean, what would you do with it?
No, Esav and Yishmael.
Later, but there would be no need for Olam Haba. There would be no need for Tchias HaMesim because nobody would die. There would be no need for Mashiach because we're already in Gan Eden. It was only the mess up which caused a plan B, which is, okay, now what? So Gan Eden Ho'el Yoin, Olam Haba, Tchias HaMesim, and that's called in Kabbalistic language the Tikkun. So when man messed up, changed the whole Bria, very, very important. We're so used to it, we don't think about it, but the world was not supposed to be so broken as it is. The world was supposed to be like Gan Eden. But when we messed up, so there's this alternative world that's in, and now this world becomes the prosdor. This just becomes the whole nature of the world changed. That when Mashiach comes, which is called in Kabbalistic language the Tikkun, so then that Tikkun will get the world back to the Gan Eden pre-Chet situation. What we're looking for when we're davening for Mashiach is a pre-Chet situation of Gan Eden. The whole world becomes Gan Eden. Lo yisa goy goy cherev. There'll be peace, there'll be happiness, there'll be parnasa, and the trees will start growing full loaves of bread, and everything that you know about Mashiach is everything you know about Gan Eden. There's no difference between the time of Mashiach. Now, how do we get back? The Ramchal says, Shaar Alef, Perek Dalet. The Ramchal says, how do we get back to that original pre-Gan Eden situation? The answer is we have to make a tikkun. Sort of like tshuva, but we have to make a tikkun to get the world back to where it was. And many have tried to make this tikkun. All through the ages, they tried to make the tikkun. Noach was thought would make Zayinach maybe he'll be the tikkun. The idea of being able to make the tikkun was abused by the Dor HaPalaga. At the Dor HaPalaga, the Ramchal explains, at that time of the Dor HaPalaga, what took place was that the world at large lost its koach to make the tikkun. Once you abuse this ability to make the tikkun, mankind could have made the tikkun a number of times and gotten the world back to where it was. But when we took everything that we had, Achdus, everybody spoke the same language. Chazal say in the Zohar that the place where they built the Tower of Babel, that could have been the Beis Hamikdash, and that could have been the Geula, and that would have been the whole thing. Right there it would have been. But instead, we said, let's go against Hashem, v'nasa lanu shem. We messed up there again. And it was in that period of the Dor HaPalaga, which was in 2002, it was where Avraham Avinu came onto the scene. And Avraham Avinu was at that time 52 years old, and the Rambam says that Avraham Avinu was holy from the time he was born. He was already declaring about a Kodesh Baruch Hu and seeing everything. But at 52, he started his campaign. Why? Because of the Dor HaPalaga. He said, somebody's got to make this tikkun here. And that's how we have to understand Avraham Avinu. And Kodesh Baruch Hu was ma'arich, the lathe of Avraham Avinu to make the tikkun. And he said, okay, that you and your children will be the ones to make the tikkun. That's us, the Jews. Zaracha v'lai kol zaracha. Penny. Avram, you'll make the tikkun, and your children, but not all of your children. Meaning not Yishmael. Yitzchak v'zarai v'lai kol zaracha. Yaakov and not Esav, etc. So here we are. That's why it's become a Jewish thing. Now the thing to know about this is that it's not like we're the ones that are making a tikkun. Everybody else is a carrot or a rabbit. That what it means is that a person, every human being for that matter, has the choice in this world whether to be part of those that are making the tikkun or not. So anybody can be Begayer. Anybody could become Jewish. Anybody could take this oil upon themselves, and we if it's sincere and it's real, we accept everybody's join us, help us make the tikkun because it's your hate. But that's why it's Ishmi Yisrael. It's everything's narrowed down to the Ishmi Yisrael. So that's what we learned until now. Yeah, please say
If every person in the world, including non-Jews, has some sort of responsibility in terms of the tikkun, does that leave Yishmael and Esav with some sliver of Abrahamic right in general?
No, they messed up. Not any more than all the different 70 nations that came out of the Dor HaPalaga have any ability, except for the fact that they are Bnei Avram, so it's easier for them to join the tikkun makers. But what we are the Masaknim. Masaknim of this world, and that's what we have to understand. So now you have a double feature here. Number one is that, we're Adam, CEO of the Bria. Number two is we're Jews, where all other CEOs of the Bria failed in their obligation, in their mandate. Avram Avinu picked it up and said, "Let me get them back there." Now, it's what's interesting is that at one point we thought that it's going to be. It's significant, incidentally. It's significant that the Tower of Babel, which was all, as I pointed out, all Dibur, was all about how they talk, babbling, babble. It's significant that happened in the year 2000. They started building in the year 2000, and because that was their thinking at the time, these were people that knew, the world understood that the Tohu Vavohu era is 2,000 years, and that's over in the year 2000. Now let's do something. And let's make the tikkun, but let's make it, if you want, Dafka, the danger of understanding our power is to make the tikkun in our way, to make it the way we want to make it. So nasa lanu shei. So the tikkun was the wrong tikkun that they made. So it's significant that was in the year 2000, and Avram Avinu watched this. And the Gemara says that Avram HaYivri, the whole world was doing one thing, and he was in another track. He was in a different track. The tikkun is for Hashem. And that what we thought, what I started to say is we thought that Noach will make a tikkun. We thought maybe that Avram Avinu would make a tikkun. No, now we understand that there's a process. 2,000 years Torah, 2,000 years Yemos HaMashiach. It's a 6,000-year process. And Avram Avinu was not the Mashiach. Avram Avinu was just creating a process. Moshe Rabbeinu already thought, or for that matter, let's go earlier, Yaakov thought, maybe this is the Gula. Bikesh Yaakov l'galos HaKetz. I don't have an Esav, I don't have a Yishmael, bitasi shlema. Maybe I'll make the Gula. And when he lost his nevuah there at the end of Vayechi, so he said, somebody's doing something wrong, somebody's thinking something wrong. And apparently the way, if you look at that Chazal inside, this issue of Yosef was still there. There was still some sinas chidam, so that wasn't the time. So what happened was Mashiach became a concept. When I say the concept, it's no longer, it was no longer about Avram being Mashiach Yitzchak or even Yaakov, and the Shvatim were going to Eretz Yisrael. They went to Mitzrayim. There was no Geula yet. Moshe Rabbeinu thought, I'll be Mashiach. I'll finally make the tikkun. And he stood at the Shlit'a, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to him, go make the tikkun. Get the Jews out of Mitzrayim, take them into Eretz Yisrael, go make the tikkun. But then it was revealed to him that you're not going to go into Eretz Yisrael. So Moshe Rabbeinu, if you look at Rashi carefully, got upset. Shlach lo biyad tishlach. So what are you bothering me for? If I'm not going to make the tikkun, what am I doing all this for? And the Targum Yonasan ben Uziel ala makom says shlach lo biyad tishlach with all the gematrias. Send Pinchas. He's Pinchas zu Eliyahu. He'll be Mashiach. What do you want me to do? This half job over here making the tikkun. But the answer to all this is I'm not wanting up on Rabbi Avinu or Moshe Rabbeinu or anybody. The answer to all this is that there's a process here of Mashiach. The process is 2,000 years Tovavot, check. 2,000 years Torah, check. 2,000 years Yemos HaMashiach, here. This is where we are, the Yemos HaMashiach, where we can finally make the tikkun. I think we're on our way to make the tikkun. We have Eretz Yisrael, we have Torah, we're on our way to make the tikkun, but we're not there yet.
Baruch Hashem, but where does the 6,000 come from?
6 days in a week.
That's where it comes
That's
from.
what the Zohar says. Yeah. So that's what we learned until now. Now it gets even more interesting. Yeah.
Just a sentence to define the Kodesh Kadashim, because animals communicate in set ways, and the higher the animal, the more closer it approximates speech. So that's not what we're talking about. So qualitatively,
I'm not talking about the ability to communicate. I'm talking about Dibur. So Dibur, there's a fine line between dogs barking at each other, and I don't know if anybody knows how deep their conversations go.
without speech
But it's not speech. In other words, speech is the ability to articulate something which is in your life and a new thought, to be machadish, to create with speech. And that requires an unbelievable linguistic ability, but it's much deeper than that. A tape recorder could talk, but today, when you call customer service, you don't know if you're talking to a person or you're talking to a robot anymore. But that's not really Dibur. Dibur is the ability to when the Dibur is is the articulation of everything that's going on inside. That's the creative Dibur that we're talking about. There's a lot to speak about, but that kind of a Dibur, only creative Dibur, only we have. Now, then he says, let's look inside here. Gam al zois yechrad leiv ha'adam. If you have this book, it's on page 9. If not, Perek Dalet in the middle. Gam al zois yechrad leiv ha'adam miyam ha'kodesh. So now the Jew has to yechrad. Yechrad doesn't mean you have to become a Haredi. Yechrad means, unless that's what it means to be a Haredi, yechrad means this: you have to tremble. You have to tremble. Shu kolel, a Haredi by definition is somebody who understands the omek of his or her position in this world and is trembling over it. Haredi, that's what the word means, Haredi. So yes, every Jew should be a Haredi in that sense. Yechrad, chorad l'dvar Hashem. Azois yechrad leiv ha'adam miyam ha'kodesh, shu kolel b'tavniso. This is a new deeper. Person is kolel b'tavnisai. Tavnisai means my actual build as a human being. My build, my body. Shu kolel b'tavnisai kol ha'koichos v'ha'ilamos kula, says Rabbi Yaacov Haber. I'm a switchboard which can activate everything in the entire world and all the ilamos above it, maybe millions of ilamos. We're not there yet. But a little bit. Shein Hema HaKodesh v'Hamikdash HaElyon gives us a glimpse into understanding what a person is, what the Beis Hamikdash is, and what's going on in the Shemayim. And these three things are all connected. Remember the trifecta: a human being, Beis Hamikdash. What is that? And think computer. We have the Baruch Hashem, the gift to be able to think that way. So there's the human being, there's this kind of a CPU like the Beis HaMikdash, and then what it's doing in the Shemayim, because everything is coming from Shemayim at the end. Hakol bidei Shemayim. Chutz, me, why? Because that's our part of it. What our Yura Shemayim is doing is activating everything there. The lack of a Beis HaMikdash is somewhat of a broken circuit. Something wrong here. But here's the way it works. What we have within us, Shehein Hema HaKodesh v'Hamikdash HaElyon v'Halev Shel Adam. So let's talk about a person's heart. We're going to analyze all of it, but let's talk about a person's heart. Halev Shel Ha'adam Emtsa'isa Degufa is in the center of the heart, the center of the body. The body starts from the top of your legs. Hence it's the center. After that, it's the raglaim are holding the body. But the body is where your organs,
The trunk.
Torso.
Why? Because that's where your heart is, and your liver, and your kidneys, and everything from up there until your brain is there. After that, you need, how do you get around? You get legs. That's like the wheels, you need wheels. But that's not where it's at. Where it's at is here. And the heart is Emtsa'isa. Now the point of being in the center is not so much that it's in the center physically, but the point is that it's the center of activity, or it's the central headquarters, the Gufa. Hu Klalios Hakol. And it, the heart, includes everything. Neged HaBeis Kodshei HaKadoshim. Emtsa HaYishuv.
Let me tell you what I call
Hmm?
Oxygen.
You can live without a lot of things. You can't live without a heart, right? So so let's understand two things. First of all, the biology of it, and second of all, the spirituality of it. And then to understand what's most important. And that's what I want to cover in the next 15 minutes. Like, what is the lave? We talk about it. I once counted. I think the lave, from a spiritual point of view, is mentioned something like 400 times in Tanakh. Vashevoisa el levavecha, v'chol levavcha, v'chol nafshecha, v'chol me'adecha. V'yadapta sadvar ve'ela vashevoisa levavecha. What we really need to understand is, what is this lave? I think there's a certain kind of a Yetzirah that probably the most important word in the whole Torah nobody gets. Like, what is this lave? Ravois machshavos belev ish. But let's understand this just on a physical level. This is not a biology class, nor am I qualified to give one. But on a biological level, so if your heart is healthy, then you get a chance, because everything is Adam hu nefesh. Everything is what you eat and what you breathe, and everything is all in the blood, and the blood is the life force of the person, which circulates through the body and nourishes the entire body. So it's, by the way, just as I happen to be reading about this, just like Pella of the Bria, the way the body works, because when you digest your food, but I'm saying it for the muscle, when you digest your food, so in your stomach, which is this big cement mixer, and then what happens is the outcome of that mixed food, whatever it is that you eat, goes through the pancreas, goes through the liver, and starts getting into the blood, creating blood and getting into the blood. So what's happening is this pellitic thing. It gets into the outside of the blood and then travels around the body. And this is the Pella of the Bria, which I think is good for our Nefesh HaChaim also. What happens is that every organ of the body takes what it needs out of that food. So this is just like an amazing thing. Like the brain doesn't need the same thing as the kidneys. So what you eat all goes into this blood, all one big gook. But this, if you think about it, you get, it's almost disgusting to think about but it is going on as we speak. If you ate breakfast today, that's what's going on. And every organ, as it travels, is taking what it needs. And if if you eat the wrong food, you might be nourishing your kidney and your liver, but you're not doing anything for your brain, or vice versa. So this is the Pella, the same thing everyone's taking. Everything's taking what it needs, and unless you're sick, and then whatever, your insulin's not working, something's not working. One of those things that are grabbing what it needs is those hormones are not working. So the heart is the pump that does all that. The heart is central headquarters, because the heart is what takes this blood and moves it around the entire system. Without this pump, a person's, you could shoot a person, God forbid, in a lot of places, but the fatal one is not even in the brain, but in the heart. You can make a person brain dead, but we know that that's not called dead. It's all about the lave. So the lave is the center of what's making everything else happening. So now remember that we have a lave, and remember that in the world, the way the Zohar, maybe we'll learn the Zohar inside, but the way the Zohar understands it, where is the central of the world? When is the center of the world, the earth, as we speak about it? So, Greenwich, England? what is the, those are arbitrary, markers as to where the center of the world is. I don't know why in the world they picked Greenwich. Yerushalayim is the center of the world. Leiv ha'olam. Yerushalayim, Leiv ha'olam, right? As Mordechai ben David says. Yerushalayim is Leiv ha'olam. And what's the center of Yerushalayim? The Har HaBayis. The center of Har HaBayis is Beis HaMikdash. Center of Beis HaMikdash, Kodesh Kadashim. So the center of Kodesh Kadashim is the Even Shesiah. So the Even Shesiah is, the Torah tells us, big gilui. This is exactly the center. How come why is it the center? Not because it's the most important, because everything comes from there. So that's the lave. Everything Even Shesiah should be menu. Shasas kol olam kula. The whole world came from this one Even Shesiah, which is still there. You can't go see it, but it's there. It's not, by the way. Even Shesiah is a little stone that you pick up in your pocket at the beach and put it in. Even Shesiah is a pretty big thing, like the size of this room. And from there, our Messiah is that Even Shesiah b'menu Shasas kol olam kula. Incidentally, Chazal tell us that the Voice HaMashiach, the Even Shesiah, is going to be reactivated again. And once it's reactivated, so you'll see the simon will be, then Mayim will be coming from the Even Shesiah again, which is exactly what's happening now, and that's why the Arabs have these terrible flooding problems in the Har HaBayis. Google it, you'll see. It's tremendous, and they keep on putting more and more carpets on top of it.
Really?
And yeah, can't figure out why there's water coming and messing up the whole business. This is a metzias of a problem. No idea.
No. It's a pellet.
Yeah, it is a pellet. Yeah. It's a pellet.
It's the Jews' fault.
Well, yeah. So there is a water, ununderstandable water problem coming. This is what Chazal say will happen. This is a reactivation of the Even Shesiah. So it's mistavra that, putting the water aside, it's mistavra that which started the whole process is the center of the world. By the way, even al pi halacha. So if you look at al pi halacha, in terms of what day it is or what day of Sphira you count, what happens when you go to Australia and you're flying and bump international date line, that's all based on arbitrary markers of the world which are not there. There is no bump for the international date line. I've crossed it many times. So nothing happens. Nothing happens. You're not a day younger. Nothing happens. But what happens? Something very much happens when you go to Yerushalayim. So comes the Nebukei Yosef and the Halacha, and the Nebukei Yosef tells us that understand something that when the center of the world, even in terms of time, is Yerushalayim Yer HaKodesh. Specifically, if you have an iPhone, specifically in the Even Shesiah, that's the exact center of the world, and from there time changes as the sun moves. So it'll go to the idea of time. That's what the Nebukei Yosef says. So that's why our international date line, al pi halacha, is different than the secular international date line because of this famous Nebukei Yosef. Others say that, so once the world was makabel, we have to go with the time of the world. Okay, that's a big Kabbalistic question of do you go with Isarusa de Lasat or Isarusa de Leila. But Etzem, that is the international date line, right? That's where it all starts, and everything moves from there. So that's the center of the world. So what's needed to understand is we have a center, the world has a center, v'hu b'chuvan, keneged Kodesh Kadashim Shel Maalah, that's exactly mechuvan. I don't know if it means geographically or on some spiritual level. It's mechuvan keneged the center of influence and the center of power, which is in Shemayim. And it's all, that's the trifecta. Leiv ha'adam, leiv ha'olam, Beis HaMikdash, leiv ha'shamayim. Let me explain this before we go further on Sunday, Mir Hashem. And that is this, what is the leiv? Let's start with us, move to the Beis HaMikdash, and then move to the Shamayim. What is the leiv? If you'll ask, not a doctor, but you'll ask just vernacular, what is the heart? They will draw you a Valentine picture. Not sure what the arrow is there for, but not sure. I have to look it up. But they talk about the heart. The world talks about the heart as the seat of emotion, regesh. Rabbis machshavos belevish. That's not emotion. Let me explain what I learned from my Rebbeim of what the heart is, based on the Gran Mishlei, and the many times that he speaks about the Leiv in Mishlei. Shlomo Melech speaks about the Leiv. And this is what I learned: that there is the Moach and there is the Leiv. In the Moach from the Gra says is really outside of the Adam. You can imagine, you can close your eyes, meditate, and imagine that you're in Honolulu or on Mars. Your mind can take you everywhere. Your mind has the capacity, it's a tremendous gift from Hashem. Your mind has the capacity to be able to take opposing views, Rava, Abaye and Rava, Hillel and Shammai, opposing views which have no kesher to each other, and understand both. And you can be a big lamb to them. The mind can handle all kinds of contradictions. But the mind, in the mind it could be, on the one hand it's this way, and on the other hand it's that way. The Leiv receives from the Moach. And in the Leiv there is no room for that. There's only one. Halev hu achid, says the Gra. Achid, lashon echad. The leiv hu achid, meaning what you do, like let's say you're only, let's take a halachic example. Like, okay, there's the Shitas HaRashba, the Shitas HaRash. What should I do? Let's try to do both. Good, that's the way halacha works. Now, how far you want to take that? There's Mohammed, Jesus. Let's try to be Mekayim everything, so we're covered. The seichel could go there. The bach could go there. The bigger the mind, the more it can fartrug. Is there emes in the mind? It's hard philosophically hard to define. What's emes? The truth is it's subjective. One person's emes, another person's emes, and every point of view is another. And so much of halacha, so much of Torah, and so much of everything is dealing with the bach. The leiv is a different story. The leiv has only one truth. And what we take from all of our thinking and all of our hakiras and all of the hakiras of the generations before us and all of the data that's out there, and v'yadata hayoim, whatever you did with your das, hashevoisa el levavecha. Now bring it into your heart. Your heart has a capacity to take all kinds of things. Let's take the biological model. You could eat carrots, you could eat Mars bars, right? You could eat everything else. It's all coming together, and this is who I am. My lave is the you cannot fool the lave. It's going to take everything. There's a waste, there's a waste system. We didn't get to that in the biological system, but there's a waste system for what I guess if you eat all the wrong thing, everything is waste, or your body is being nourished incorrectly. But the thing of it is that the lave has only one capacity. With the brain, you cannot have, says the Goin, you cannot have Maziras Nefesh. If somebody says to us, bow down to that idol or I will kill you. Well, if the pilpul begins, and we're all capable of that, especially when our life is in danger. So that means, okay, we won't hold it against anybody. I don't know where you are, I don't know where I am in this. We've never had that in the site yet, Baruch Hashem. But when there's hakiras going on, maybe this way, maybe that way, so that means it's still in the brain and it hasn't yet traveled to the heart. Yesh lodum. Once it's in the heart, you could be even a simple person without all the hakiras, and there's no questions asked. That's just one example of the difference between the lave and the moach.
So just an analogy to what the lave is? Because it's not actually, the lave is not actually processing feeling.
No, but the lave is taking that which has been processed in the post-process, and it's working with it, and that's what it is. There is no. In other words, what I'm saying with the lave is once it's in your blood, there's no more dividing. The dividing is this is what's going to happen. So it's very interesting that Ezu avoida shebelev. There are 1,000 chazals. I'm saying one. Ezu avoida shebelev zu tefillah. Daven with your head. So daven with your head. Learn with your head. You don't daven with your head. When you learn, there's 100 stadim. The bigger your mind, the more learning. This is extremely important. This is all exercise for the moach. Or is to create from all of that a das ochid. Says the guy. There's only one thing that's going on. Now, I don't say this. The brain is very, very important. It's a good thing. The brain is very important, not just because you wouldn't be able to function without a brain. The brain is very important because that's what gets us to higher levels. The ability and the capacity of a person to think even higher and to say, I want to be like the Vilna Gaon, I want to be like Rav Abaya, I want to be like Avram Avinu. This is a brain thing. And if not for the brain reaching higher, there would be no capacity to grow at all. And that's why Torah is so important. It's the capacity to get out of what we are and what's actually happening. Now, to take that and to make it work, get it into our heart, so that's already a different story. Are we really going to be Rav Abaya? Maybe yes, maybe no. But Masai Agia Maisa, that's a brain thing. When am I going to come to be like Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov? That's a brain question. Lamaisa, I'm me. And the tachlis of all of this brain stuff is to work the heart to become this das achid of this is who I am and this is what I am. So when we're talking about the lave, and this is I think important for all of our learning here, when we're talking about the lave, we're talking about there's only echad b'leiv. When we're talking about the Even Shesiah, it's only one. The center point of anything can only be one. If it's not one, it's just because you don't have a good enough microscope. Divided further. The actual center is singular because that's the lave. The lave is a singular idea. It's a singular concept, and from there is mispashet kol olam kula, nourishing the entire world. So our lave is mechuvan keneged the lave Yerushalayim and the lave of Kodesh Kadashim. The lashon of Chazal, the Ruchai Velozhin brings yechaven es liboy keneged Kodesh Kadashim. So what yechaven es liboy? What does that mean? First of all, we face east. We face Yerushalayim, and maybe you're imagining that you're standing in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Does anybody do that? Yechaven es libo keneged Kodesh HaKadoshim. Or does it really mean, says Ruchai Velozhin, or does it really mean not that we're supposed to play games with our mind and imagine we're standing in the Kodesh HaKadoshim where everything is echad, but yechaven es libo keneged Kodesh HaShemayim, make your synchronize. Yechaven means to synchronize your heart to the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Mahu echad, afani echad. In the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the Kohen Gadol goes in. He wears one color, takes off the shtick. It's all one. All there's only one Kohen, one place, one makom. That's the Kodesh HaKadoshim. That's the Kohen Gadol. Our Yechaven Eslibai, we're davening. This is lave time. And when we're learning, this is moach time. Moach gets us bigger, aspirations, growth, then Shivai Solo. So the two steps are extremely important, to take a variety of ideas and to synthesize them and homogenize them into one thing, which is the lave. Now the lave, that's going to make the difference. The lave is actually going to be, so Ezu Avodah Shibbolave, want to know what to do with your lave? Daven. And when you're davening, there's no chakiras. When you're davening, it's kikotan lifnei hamelach. I'm standing and I'm davening, and everything is 100% clear. If I'm put into a position of Mesiras Nefesh, so everything is 100% clear. In the lave, there's clarity, and to activate, to create the lave of echad, and to activate that and to live by your lave. So we're not talking about, in short, and I want to go through this insight on Sunday, but we're not talking about, my regesh. Regesh is part of it because, in other words, we think that, okay, there's the brainy person, which is like the cold, calculated person, and then there's the emotional person, which has no seichel at all. But no, that's not what it is. It's the seichel creating a das echad b'leiv. The leiv then becomes even smarter than the moach. So rabbis machshavos b'leiv ish. It's taking into it. Many machshavos are going to Levish, but atzas Hashem hisakum. It come into one. David HaMelech says, Achas shualti meis Hashem. It all comes down to achas. It's all this one piece, this one thing. That achas is where we need to get to. That achas, and to sum the whole thing up, is extremely powerful. Because that's our PowerPoint. That's where we can affect everything in the world. What we're doing in our life. I don't even want to say what we're feeling, what we're thinking, but what's going on in our life. Tefillah. Well, tefillah and whatever's going on in our life will affect every relationship. It will affect the entire world. It will even affect the Beis Hamikdash. It will affect the Shemai. See what caused the Chorban Beis Hamikdash is when our life was not right.
So
you see let me end with this quote from Rashi. Rashi says, "The Yaakov Avinu bikesh l'galos es haketz, v'nistalka mimenu nevuah." And he said, "What's going on? What's going on?" And what was their answer? Kishem she'ein belibcha ela echad, kach ein belibenu ela echad. Lashon is murdered. Are we talking about Achdus Hashem? We're talking about echad. Our leiv is beseder. That was their taina. Apparently it wasn't. But that you're echad b'leiv, we're echad b'leiv, time for the tikkun. If we're b'leiv echad, because galos is our case. But if there's not an echad here, hence something as incidental, it seems, as sinas chinam, we just happen to all hate each other. So that's ma'akev Mashiach, not as a punishment. That's ma'akev Mashiach, because you just ripped apart the echad of the leiv. Now you're back into the place of das. I hold like this, you hold like that. You're back into the brainy part. You cannot have a brainy relationship. You can't be married on a brain level. It's not going to work. You know what's his name? The genius in the wheelchair. What's his name? Stephen Hawkins. Yeah. So you know, so he. I always think about this. You know, so he has a wife who did everything for him. Not only fed him, but walked him around and changed his diapers and took care of him. And he divorced her. Like, I mean, they're lucky to, to have anybody, I mean, divorced her because she's a born-again Christian and he didn't hold like that. This is what happens when you're Kool-Aid brain and nothing else works. It doesn't, I mean, I would divorce my wife if she became a born-again Christian too, but the fact of the matter is, like, what's this guy, like, what's up with him, The answer is, like, he couldn't get out of his brain. So in the sense that his whole body's handicapped, but the most handicapped part about him is his brain, because it didn't flow down. I don't know the guy. I'm not knocking him. I'm just saying that I don't know what he's contributed to the world if he did anything. But what I'm saying is that if what's going on in the machshavos doesn't come to some kind of an echad, you can't have love. You can't have love for another person. You can't love with your brain. So in that sense, it's regesh. But the only reason it's regesh is because the only time you'll have an emotion is when there's echad. And the echad is the place that we need to work for. Bina, the leiv, ben arboim labina. You come to this point of arboim labina, that means you're taking all the different things that you've learned and hashev voisel levavecha ben arboim labina. Now, not everyone comes to that, like the joke, right? Somebody said to the Rav, Ben Shivim Lazikna. I don't know, I'm a little worried about this. I'm getting older. Ben Shivim Lazikna. So the Rav told him, listen, when you got to Ben Arboim Labina, nothing happened. Probably nothing will happen. So, but okay, but that's the tachlis of
And Hitbodedut is also part of it.
for sure.
Yeah.
Hashiv Vayzalova, that's what it's all about.
Lev takes it on